best case scenario, I'm managing a Cinnabon in Omaha.
I don't know where he is.
If you leave this place, you will get caught.
Each week we break down another Breaking Bad episode in order. This week we've reached the penultimate episode, Season 5, Episode 15, Permanent Vacation. Actually, that was the working title. It was later changed to Granite State. I've got 65 details you might not know. The director's cut was 14 minutes too long and hard to trim down, so they got permission to make the episode about 6 minutes longer than normal, making it the longest episode besides the pilot and finale. To begin, it looks like the Toyota Previa has made its way to the vacuum shop after picking up Walt. I was unaware of the Previa lore, but apparently it's nicknamed the Egg, so it's an appropriate vehicle since emerging from the egg at the vacuum shop is like being born into a new life. Then the Disappearer appears for the first time. The great Robert Forster, who is the template they imagined for the character before casting the part. He passed away in 2019, the same day that El Camino was released. He also apparently was a door-to-door vacuum salesman early in his life. His character's name was already chosen as Ed in the script, although you never see or hear it in Breaking Bad.
You can come on out.
Oh, they went with Saul for the teaser as a bit of relief from all the intensity of the previous Saul-less episodes.
It's an actual store.
It is in real life too. All they had to do was remove some stuff because it was too cluttered.
If you would step right here on this blue spot.
It's so weird that this green spot shows up as soon as he says that.
What about this?
I'll Photoshop that out.
Wow, Ed's good at Photoshop. Also, that's not the photo he just took.
Nebraska. What's in Nebraska?
You.
2 months after this aired, he was in Nebraska, the movie, and I'm sure that's the most relevant black and white connection that's going to come out of this Nebraska mention. Is Saul not going to suggest alternatives?
It's your life. I imagine you get a say.
Until then, you're going to be staying here. I got a place downstairs, out of sight. You'll have a bunkmate.
Oh, yeah? He's still here?
It's a special case. Going to take some doing.
How's he holding up?
You be the judge.
You can tell that the screen is fake because it changes size as soon as the picture comes in.
We will find Hank.
Marie and Raimi come back from the DEA headquarters. His head must be spinning from not only the Hank and Gomi news, but learning about Walt for the first time.
Sir?
They had fans blowing those papers.
Call it in, get her out of here.
A DEA vehicle should have a U.S. government license plate, not a regular New Mexico one.
I knocked on his door.
I am the one who knocks.
Does this pussy cry through the entire thing?
Todd, that opie dead-eyed piece of shit, pulls out a gun and shoots the kid.
Todd's not the only one who's dead-eyed.
Dead-eyed killer.
He's got, like, the dead eyes.
Place is full of dead-eyed douchebags.
She's like a Mike, that grunting, dead-eyed cretin.
This is Todd Elquist we're talking about?
That's the only time we hear Todd's last name in Breaking Bad.
Boom, like it was nothing.
I think we should keep him for a while and get a couple of cooks under our belt.
He ratted you out personally.
We still got 600 gallons of methylamine.
Man, we've got all the money in the world.
That's a good point.
No matter how much you got, how do you turn your back on more?
It's that Lydia woman. You're sweet on her, you little bastard.
It's all about this right here, huh?
And that one's so uptight, she's probably got a wood chipper for a coochie.
She just seemed like uptight. Now you're being sexist.
Stick it in down there, you're pulling back a stump. What the hell? Heart wants what the heart wants, right?
That's a Woody Allen quote, not the only Jewish influence on Jack's gang. Maybe Marvel's a stretch, but there's also Ben and Jerry's later and Todd's Groucho Marx ringtone in the next episode. Writer and director Peter Gould pointed out that Walt and Jesse both start the episode underground, looking for ways to crawl out of their graves. Too bad Hank didn't get that chance.
Wow, that sucked.
Gomi, I'm gonna avenge your death. Take out that neo-Nazi scum. Homie, I'm under a domie.
Make yourself useful. Give me a list of hitters, mercenaries.
Who are we hitting?
Jack Welker and his men.
And that's the only time we hear Jack's last name.
They murdered Hank. They stole my life's work.
This is only the second Breaking Bad episode Peter Gould directed, but he wrote 11, including the introduction to Saul. So it's only fitting he became the co-creator of Better Call Saul, also writing 11 but directing 5, including the series finale.
You're worried about your wife and kids. Don't leave.
As far as the police are concerned, Skyler is a blameless victim.
Phone call was a smart move. Kudos to you. It might even buy her a mistrial. In a year and a half, they're going after her.
She knows nothing.
Well, too bad for her, then she's got nothing to trade. Now, who's gonna hire her?
Money's no problem.
Getting it to her, impossible. Mike was no dummy, but every time he tried to get his nest egg to his granddaughter, it ended up in Uncle Sam's pockets. Stay. Face the music. You walk in with your head held high, you'll be the John Dillinger of the Metropolitan Detention Center. How bad is that?
Saul always has good advice, and that continues into Better Call Saul, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
You think I want to run?
I'm going to kill Jack and his entire crew. and I'm gonna take back what is mine, and then, and only then, am I through.
You're set. Time to go.
Change of plans. He's coming with me.
No. No, that's...
We're going together.
I'll give you 2 a minute.
I'm not your lawyer anymore. I'm nobody's lawyer. If the fun's over, from here on out, I'm Mr. Low Profile. Just another douchebag with a job and 3 pairs of Dockers. If I'm lucky, a month from now, best case scenario, I'm managing a Cinnabon in Omaha.
It's easy to forget that he already knew he was going to Nebraska, so this prediction isn't that crazy. If we look at that draft script again, notice he was going to say Hot Topic. Peter Gould said once they found out Hot Topic carried Breaking Bad merch, they didn't want it to look like a cheap promo, so they changed it to Cinnabon. And surprisingly, Cinnabon didn't even know about this until the episode aired.
You remember what I told you? We're done. It's not over. If I say we're done.
It's over.
So is Saul's time in Breaking Bad. Not you, Skinny, you've still got one more episode. I would do a musical tribute to Saul, but I already did one on this channel. Check out the Too Many Sauls video, but only if you finish Better Call Saul.
Mr. White.
Is she even listening?
Mr. White?
Mrs. White, are you following all this?
You understood what I've just said to you.
Do you understand what's happening here?
Yes.
Yes,
Lung cancer. Inoperable.
I understand. I understand I'm in terrible trouble. Unless I give you Walt. But the truth is, I can't give you what you want. I don't know where he is.
All right, go and discuss this with your lawyer here. Rack your brain and hope you can come up with something we can use.
417. No activity.
Skyler doesn't have a drink. She has a glass full of cigarettes.
Is there anybody else in the house?
Not even Holly, because that's obviously a doll.
Okay, we know that you've been talking to the police, and that's okay. You gotta do that. The lady who came into the car wash, you said anything about her? You sure about that?
You sure about that?
This is the moment Todd Alquist became Tim Robinson.
The police don't need to know anything about her. Now I'm gonna need you to say it.
Hey, man, I gotta know we're square.
I swear.
Skyler's prediction finally came true.
Nothing will ever impact you or the kids.
You don't know that?
When we leave, you're not gonna go running to those police officers out front?
No.
Good. Because you really don't want us coming back.
Touching her like that was Jesse Plemons' idea. So creepy. As you know, I've studied the layout of this house mainly because they only had one bathroom. And I was so confused about what was going on with Holly's room here. Then I realized that Skyler had gone to the primary bedroom and the crib is at the foot of her bed. So that window they come in and out of indeed goes to the backyard. Regardless, that's pretty bad surveillance to not watch the back of the house. It was nice of her to wait to cry until Todd was finished with his lines. This is once again a doll, which you can see from the lifeless hand and body. We're supposed to wonder, why is Todd drinking tea? And then piece together who he must be meeting and trying to relate to.
Don't. Stay where you are. We'll talk like this. Face forward. We'll talk like this.
I guess I'm coming to you.
Of course, Todd obeys.
I went to Mr. and Mrs. White's house.
You don't have to say the name.
Sure, and it went really good. I mean, the message was received loud and clear.
That is so much more suspicious than sitting at the same table.
What can I get you? Chamomile tea with soy milk, please. And I'll make more stevia. You're not Western Union, Todd. We can't just settle for you sending messages.
She seems like a nice lady watching out for her kids.
Wow, such compassion from Todd.
I'm not used to this kind of risk. We're gonna have to take a break.
I have 50 pounds vacuum packed and ready to go.
And I wish you all the luck in the world with it.
It's 92%. It's blue just like before.
92.
She doesn't seem to care about the color right now.
Blue is our brand. It's what our buyers pay top dollar for.
But I guess because it's such a huge jump in purity.
Heisenberg low. He's not with you.
Next best thing, Pinkman.
92%.
He improvised again with the taking the lint off the jacket maneuver. This is inside the real tank, but the original plan was to build a set for this because they were going to show Walt's whole journey in dealing with nausea. They never ended up filming it, which was just as well since the episode originally being 14 minutes too long was even without any of that.
Mr. Lambert.
Now the pieces are starting to fall into place that connect us to the season 5 flash forward.
Happy birthday, Mr. Lambert.
Such as his last name being Lambert, Skyler's maiden name.
Welcome to New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
This is still in Albuquerque, about 30 miles from the studios, and mostly real snow. It's at Sandia Crest at about 10,500 feet elevation. But does all this snow make sense for New Hampshire? This episode takes place from March through September. I can buy this for the first 2 months, but maybe not beyond that. Can any New Hampshireites weigh in? While scouting this location, someone broke into Bryan Cranston's car and stole a script from an earlier episode and his iPad with the final 2 scripts, but they were able to remotely erase them. At least that's what they said at the time, but they might have been trying to discredit any leaks. Bryan seems to give different details at different times, even saying that Vince changed some things in the show after this happened. The show built this cabin exterior, although the interior is a set on a soundstage.
On the TV front, the reception's pretty much nil.
This box of DVDs wasn't on the TV a second ago, and throughout the scene keeps changing position.
Weather's right, you might be able to catch Montreal, but mostly you'll be limited to DVDs.
Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. 2 copies.
That reminds me of Jesse's 2 copies of Little Big Planet. Vince now claims this wasn't meant to be an insult to the movie, just that he thought the name sounded funny. But I suspect he's too nice to reveal the truth.
You want something else to watch? Put it on the list.
$50,000 for a trip to Costco.
Risk is what you're paying me for, not toilet paper. Risk and a 4,400-mile round trip.
Indeed, that is a long trip.
Here's the phone.
No phone.
Internet?
Same deal. You want news? I'll bring the Albuquerque papers.
I have business to conduct.
My business is keeping you out of custody. You are the hottest client I have ever had, by far.
He's thinking, well, thank you, but what does that have to do with my internet?
What's keeping me from walking out that gate?
Nothing. If you leave this place, you will get caught. See you in a month.
There's a clear for motion picture use only. This is the 4th time Heisenberg's theme is used.
We had some Ben & Jerry's. There's peanut butter cup and Americone Dream. I don't know what you like, so I got you some of each.
Jesse ended up in a Crazy 8 situation, which is a bit ironic since that was his idea.
I wouldn't do this to my worst enemy.
That batch that you just cooked was 96%.
That's Gale level right there.
I can guarantee you purity of 96%.
Kind of figured you deserved a little something.
You mind leaving the tarp off tonight?
It might get cold.
I just want to see the stars.
I wondered if you can even see the stars with all the other light, but Todd checked, so I guess you can.
Good night, Jesse.
Night.
Jesse did an amazing job bending this paperclip back into shape because he already did this lock-picking trick at the start of the episode. Aaron did this for real, although he was wearing a harness and they digitally removed the wire. Jesse's now wearing Todd's shirt from Dead Freight. This was the costume designer's idea because it's realistic Todd would provide him with more than the outfit he was captured in. So this is the moment Jesse Pinkman becomes Jesse Plemons. Although we didn't end up counting them, that was Jesse's last use of his favorite swear word. Jesse's done this before.
Just kill me now and get it over with because there's no way I'm doing one more cook for you psycho fucks!
And that's the last F word. Even under the most generous interpretation of the 1 per season rule that I talked about in Crawl Space, this is a bonus one. Likely another exception to a rule requested by Vince.
You're Andrea, right? You know Jesse Pinkman? Right? Well, I'm a friend of his. My name's Todd.
Andrea really needs to stop talking to Jesse's friends.
Actually, I brought him with me.
Jesse's here?
Yeah, he's right over there in that truck. Just so you know, this isn't personal.
In this shot, it's Trina Siopi from the props department because she's also a stunt woman. She wore a wig with head protection underneath. She also appeared in season 3 when the actress who was supposed to play this nurse didn't show up. And with that, Walt is responsible for the death of both of Jesse's girlfriends.
Settle down. Hey, remember, you're still a kid.
Walt might no longer be a stray dog, but he's just like an excited dog as his human arrives. The reason they ended the scene here is that when Bryan excitedly tapped the window, it shattered, although you can still see it happen. The car had tinted windows, so they changed them, but neglected to use automotive glass. It's a good thing Bryan was wearing gloves. Just like Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, there are at least 2 copies of this newspaper. And there are 2 references to 2012 and a reference to 2011, but we're in 2010. We see that a good amount of time has elapsed. Over the course of the episode, Walt spends about 5 months in this cabin. This is the first time he's had hair in the main timeline since season 1.
I can barely read this.
I was so confused by this article because I could find no record of a Mayor Fantle. It turns out this is Bryan Fantle, who is the general manager of the Albuquerque Journal, so I guess this was an Easter egg for him.
One of these ought to come close.
Bryan's wearing prosthetic cheekbones in addition to the turkey neck we saw at the beginning of season 5 to help sell the weight loss.
Skyler in a better place?
Nah, she's still at that place off of Eubank.
It's good to see Kirkland's signature products, as he really did go to Costco.
I saw her public defender on TV. Looks like a deer in the headlights. They got socks older than him. And she's using her maiden name. I wouldn't take that personally.
Well, Walt showed her because they still have the same last name.
Those working for you?
And we're now getting close to the flash forward Walt.
It took a run by your old house. They put a fence up around it.
They put up a fence?
Seems like the place got to be kind of a tourist attraction.
Of course, that's what happened in real life as well. And just a couple days ago, the family that has owned this house since the 70s has put it up for sale. If this were a normal house, Zillow estimates it would be worth about $340,000. But the initial listing is
almost $4 million.
That's a lot of dipping sticks.
Presumably the new owner will turn it into a tourist destination if zoning allows for that, or at least an Airbnb. Do I want to be the person who does that? Yes. More than anything.
Name one thing in this world that is not negotiable.
The inside of the home was never on camera and looks nothing like the set on TV, but the backyard is unmistakable. And in case you're wondering, the real house does have 2 bathrooms, but it's a different layout, so my stance on Walt's house is unchanged.
You ready? Sorry about last time. Should go better now. Watch a couple of YouTube videos.
You probably could have picked more relevant videos, Ed, but thanks for watching. Even if he managed to find a new needle, this is not proper technique. He would have gone all the way through the vein.
I will see you afternoon of the 15th.
Stay a little longer?
Yeah, I got a long trip ahead of me.
2 hours? I'll give you another $10,000. Please.
1 hour.
One of these days when you come up here, I'll be dead. My money over there. What happens to it then? What if I ask you to give it to my family? Would you do it?
If I said yes, would you believe me?
I would if he actually said yes, but I guess that's why he never does. Peter and Vince believe that Ed would keep the money. Let's talk about the meanings of Granite State. The obvious interpretation is the nickname for New Hampshire, just like episode 1 was named after New Hampshire's motto.
Live free or die? Is that New Hampshire?
But Peter Gould admitted there were more meanings. Walt's life is in a granite-like state right now, still and cold. And there's a possibility it continues the Ozymandias theme of the fallen granite statue. It makes this line more noteworthy.
A king. 2 kings.
However, this scene was written to end right after Ed says,
Cut the cards.
but Peter let them keep going and these were ad-libs.
No.
A king. 2 kings.
Robert said that simply because he really dealt 2 kings on the first take. The light through the windows here is a digital effect. Now's a good time to talk about these articles. We've talked a lot about Peter Gould, and there he is with a Moira-like cameo. And thanks to photos shared by the owner of these props, we can see that this one was written by Paul Haig, who was previously the judge who signed the Mike Ehrmantraut search warrant. This article was written by prop master Mark Hansen, and this photo was taken by none other than Matt Fate, who can now add photographer to his long list of roles. Deputy, Walt student, preppy shopper, the guy who was attacked with a roofing hammer, and a homicide suspect. And, just like with member names, I must now correct my pronunciation because I recently learned that his last name is pronounced Feet.
Matt,
Feet.
Yeah, Matt Feet.
This is the point Walt has hit mineral bottom. He knows he isn't going to last much longer and needs to do something to get the money to his family. Here's the penultimate loose end to tie up regarding Flash Forward Walt's appearance. He didn't have his wedding ring on because it was around his neck. The use-by date of October 2013 is a stretch for 2010. I just went to the store and the use-by dates were all within a year and a half. This could be a pun as Walt's trying to ensure his family's financial security. Those 2 tire tracks were added digitally.
Flynn White to the principal's office, please.
It's no surprise that Junior's transformation to Flynn is now permanent, and he's wearing Hank Orange. Based on the classroom, he's likely taking a chemistry test. That's got to already be tough for him emotionally. We get to say goodbye to Carmen.
It's your Aunt Marie.
It sounds very important.
She's now the principal instead of the vice principal to justify having a different office. This was filmed at El Dorado High School, where the PTA meeting from season 1 was shot. Carmen's sticky note mentions UNM, which we'll hear more about in Better Call Saul, and weirdly seems to have a real phone number.
Hold on a sec, honey.
Son, it's me. Please don't let on. Are you there?
Yes. It's so good to hear your voice.
This bar scene was originally shot on Bryan's 56th birthday, but something unbelievable happened to the footage. As you know,
we're probably about the last show that's ever going to shoot on 35mm negative.
And they would fly the rolls of film to LA for processing. But this roll fell off the truck taking it to or from the plane, and it got run over by a 737. They were able to salvage a lot of the footage, but they did have Bryan come back to reshoot parts of it.
I made some terrible mistakes. The things that they're saying, I never intended. Son, we don't have much time.
Lewis Corbett. His family still live in that same place up on Newcomb.
This is really obscure, but I found this reference funny because the Newcomb High School mascot is also a Skyhawk. But this is a fake JP Wynn sign, and the Skyhawk was chosen because that was the mascot at Vince's high school.
I'm sending Lewis a package.
One reason he called him at school is that the DEA wouldn't be tapping the phone. The game we hear in the background is one of the biggest upsets in college hockey history. The University of Wisconsin Badgers over the University of Denver Pioneers back in 1998.
There's money inside $100,000, I think.
You want to send money. You killed Uncle Hank. You killed him.
Listen to me. You've got to listen to me.
Just shut up. Just stop it.
It can't all be for nothing.
That worked with Skyler, but not for Junior. Of course, Hank's death makes anything a very hard sell.
Why are you still alive? Just die already. Just die.
Those are the last words we hear from Junior, which is a callback to season 1.
Why don't you just fucking die already? Just give up and die.
Also,
Maybe you should just go ahead and die then.
It's noteworthy that Junior was willing to listen for a while and didn't snap until Walt mentioned the money. Maybe if Walt apologized or explained more about Hank, there could have been a shot here? Walt's final mission was a failure, so there's nothing left to do but give up.
DEA, on my director call.
I'd like to speak to the agent in charge of the Walter White investigation.
Who may I say is calling?
Walter White.
Hello?
You ready for that drink now?
Dimple pinch. Neat.
Dimple Pinch is back, which is a nod to Vince's father-in-law's favorite drink. And it's once again neat, like Hank also prefers. This sign is telling us Walt's meant to be in Crawford Notch, New Hampshire. Perhaps it's also a nod to Lavelle Crawford?
For us, it's always been science first.
Pulls 12 times.
Would you go back?
What, this?
The Gretchen and Elliot Schwartz Foundation announced a $28 million grant.
And here's the start of the critical plot development inspired by superfan Kevin Cordasco, who I talked about in the Live Free or Die video. This Charlie Rose segment was the last thing ever filmed for Breaking Bad. It was filmed in his New York studio and produced by his crew. Even the on-screen graphics are authentic. Scheduling it was tricky, especially because Jessica was starring on Broadway at the time. And the morning of the shoot, Margaret Thatcher died, making Charlie Rose unavailable, so they had to delay it by a day.
Andrew Ross Sorkin of the New York Times wrote a column suggesting that the grant was a kind of publicity maneuver.
Andrew Ross Sorkin actually wrote some of this fictional article, and you can find it on the New York Times website.
Because of your association with Walter White.
Well, that's not exactly
to cleanse yourself of having a methamphetamine kingpin as co-founder.
The no checks accepted sign is gone. This must be due to the mix of original footage and the reshoot from the plane accident.
We're talking about a person who had virtually nothing to do with the creation of the company.
So what was Walter White's contribution?
The company name.
The company name? As far as I can recall, his contribution begins and ends right there.
Oh boy.
Is Walter White still out there?
No, he's not. I can't speak to this Heisenberg that people refer to. But whatever he became, the sweet, kind, brilliant man that we once knew long ago, he's gone.
This is the only time the title theme has been used within an episode. And wow, does it get us hyped for what's next. Walt is ready to break bad. Composer Dave Porter calls this piece Dimple Pinch neat. This was filmed in the Monsanto Mountains, far away from the cabin site, and this was all fake snow. They almost didn't notice this cactus that gives away we're not in New Hampshire, but the police tech advisor pointed it out, so they camouflaged it at the last moment by spraying it with fake snow. Apparently a sheriff wouldn't be dispatched for things like this in New Hampshire, and they wouldn't identify themselves as police. So maybe the police tech advisor should have been more focused on their job instead of the cactus. As in many other episodes, these are real police officers. He took a sip, but it kind of looks like there's more in the glass than before. And in between, it definitely gained liquid, but this is also probably due to the reshoot. Finally, the credits list ASAC Raimi, but he's the Sack. I don't know if that's some kind of technicality because he's filling in for Hank, or if it's simply a mistake.
Would you go back?
What, this?
Congratulations and thanks to Adam Coslin, Andre, 8-Ball Paul, Killa Genius, 2U's, Lord Spuddington, Pepis Pepisovich, Ryu, Michael, Anthony Jackson, and Benising, who are now 6-month members. And thanks to those of you who keep surprising me by joining the Hero tier on Patreon. Say hi to the new members: Kid828 Gaming, Waiter, Silksong Please, Matthew Bouchard, Frank West, Smash and Abe, Luigi Cap, Fuza, West, Josh Sometimes John, Harry S, Nur Sultan Tolyak Bay, Silesian, Fortnite PJ Fans, Still Don't Know, Valerie 5, Gameplay, Demo Account, Toby 4, Milan Padani, Jonah Feigelson, Darren Mack, Octopuku, Travis White, Bond, Del Taco, Aria, Patrick Sachowski, Nazim Gokin, Garby, Bids, Kai Davis, STF Up Chris, Hi for Prez, Wacko238, Apatheticate, Oneb, Sam Robinson, Kijaro, Colinabox, Marcel 911, The Wandering Chin, El Screeps, Hoopy2, Biz Bay Serpa, Swigalope, Zane Craig, Sup With It, Drainer, Sam Harris, Ebon, Ice, Cool Dad 420 Blaze, Ryan Taylor, Babal, Daniel Joe, Maxwell, Raleigh Foley, Smoky Bongwater, Coach Beer, Flowers in Athens, Volca 2840, Synthwave Fox, Alex Miskell, Oceanman 232, Tatavo, Vivers, Cash Out Carson, Marigost, Hayes CLU, M West Productions, The Predman Number 9, LOL, Splip, Peter A, Macaco Made 369, Celebration, Carrot, James Jasandi, Andy Root TD, Joel Van Bennekum, Scott Russell, Kasubi, 225544, Nicholas, John LaPierre, Cameron Bryant, Caden, Epic Chris, Tyro, MV Vontlofen, Lemnisquit, Ratstar, Tadpole with Leggy, Walter's 52nd Annual Baconing, Billy Bob Dan, Liam T, Lightning Mick, Swarce A. Wood, Sponge Booby, Popular Spoon, James Donovan, Chili the Bunny, Sniplord, El Mate, Ted Parkinson, Samuel Gagnon, Justin Thiner, Kving Shadow, Dylan Hall, Stack, Cameron Trevelyan, Landon Gaming, Carrie Blue, Quidama, Logician, Nightmare, Prosnick, Kanye Scream.mp3, Pieman III, Shrimp, Huey, Craig Rochelle, Pipe 428, Fang, Nicholas Hilton, Heatmax98, and Guardian Links. And time to fix my pronunciation of Brim VR and GWF animations. Next week, it's a very short special treat, and then after that, it's Felina.
No! 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 No!
You're a tough little rat, I'll give you that much. Just remember, what happens now, it's all on you. You made it happen. Okay, Toddy. Here's your boy. You're up.
No! No!